Well, this is not the first time that I've been stood up by boys. I can tell you that.
No, let me tell you something. The family, the way we do business is,
no, I wanted look. There's nobody out there, I think, but like Stephanie. But this is the thing.
But you're supposed to be loyal.
This was we were
not really
stop. This was all about me basically fangirling over Andy and Alex, who are YouTubers. They're they're not kids. They're, I don't know, early 20s. And they review music. They listen to music. They talk about music. They react to music. And I love those shows. I have a bunch of people that I watch music review. You know what? I would love to do a whole episode about this. So this could be it. So guys, when I am not doing this kind of stuff, I like to watch people review music that I used to love. So there's Andy and Alex. There's
Goodbye, Stranger.
Don't mock me. Then there's Jamel, aka Jamal. There's Mr. Video, love them. Like, these are guys that just sit and watching people, and the twins, the new trend. I mean, those kids are adorable too.
Twins.
Yeah, twins, the new trend. There's twins that review music. But anyway, so we invited Andy and Alex to come on, and we were going to do something with them. And
they're Floridians.
They are Floridians. But you know, this happened. And the truth is that I would have just as easily set it up for next week. Like, this is a very casual thing, but I just wanted to talk to them. Their reaction to Goodbye Stranger. And for people who don't know, that is my all-time most favorite song, Goodbye Stranger. Supertramp, Goodbye Stranger, my most favorite song, has been since I think 82. And it just is. But their reaction to that song made me so happy. So I highly recommend people check out Andy and Alex and watch their Goodbye Stranger review. It was perfect. Anyway, so
yeah, it's a great song.
You mock it.
I do, but I do it it's all in good fun.
Whatever.
I don't do it because I'm trying to be.
It's the greatest song ever. But anyway, digress. So we're obviously, Andy and Alex are not here. They're not, and I don't want to
review it the year tonight. Was that one of the songs that they reviewed?
Yes, they have done that one.
All right. Well, while we're live, guys, hit the like button, share it. Get some.
All five of you hit the like button. This is not our usual time, but we're here.
Well, we did say that. Well, again, this is just ironic because we did discuss the prospect of exploring possibly doing a Sunday show.
And I did. I put on daytime makeup, which is very I actually. I didn't do the hair.
I'm already done for the day. I already got my workout in. I've got a lot of my work done. The Giants are playing at 1:00, so I'll be meeting up with my father and my grandfather.
Okay,
so we'll be having ourselves.
But anyway, this is random, and we weren't even sure we were going to hit the go live button.
Hey, John, listen, if you want to keep coming on here and giving us crap, you can keep doing it, but we're counting you as one of our viewers, so it's all good, buddy.
Here's the thing, John.
And we don't do this for a living. We do this to try to help people.
But here's the thing, John, since we don't really have a program, let's talk about what you want to talk about. You want to hate on me because of whatever happened with the people that came on the show. That's fine. You can hate on me.
If you want, I don't care. What's even more amazing, and this just goes to show you how pathetic some people are in the progressive movement. But we're not going to. They're going to live it. They are going to live in the past. They're going to live on Force the Vote, which we supported. They are going to live on. They're going to live on.
They just cannot get over it.
Do you know that the channel, which we will not speak of, do you know that they are selling merch made in China with shirts that say "Force the Vote"? And I'm not kidding. This is what they're doing.
That's very helpful, people. Very helpful direct action.
That's really going to get stuff done.
I cannot take that seriously, but it's just funny to me. And
the camera seems to be a bit out of focus.
Really?
We were pretty clear last I checked.
Are you sure that you're not hungover?
It is Sunday.
But and maybe that is, and the truth is, I was sitting here waiting, and it never happened, and so I just hit one go live. So we have nothing going on.
Andy and Alex are great. I have watched a handful of the songs that they have reviewed. Clearly, they have. There's a couple of songs that they did review that really stand out.
I'm sure they were Bruce Springsteen songs.
No, that's not true. Actually, Supertramp is one of them. Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf is another one that they reviewed, which is really big.
And I have notes for them too.
In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins was pretty big.
See, I could be very, very specific, and they do deep dives for Patreons, which is kind of cool. They do like full album reviews, and I actually haven't seen that. I haven't seen those, but I know that they do that stuff, which is really cool. And I often think that, especially for the young people that review music, that they don't necessarily understand the whole album-oriented rock concept, and that albums were written as stories and go together and go in an order and sound how they sound for a reason. And when you pluck one song from an album that is made like that, it's just not doing it justice.
Well, that's not.
So it's just one of those things that I think young people do not understand.
Well, that's one of the reasons why Springsteen is my favorite musician, because a lot of his great stuff was made in the 70s and 80s, when album-oriented rock was a thing. And they weren't the only ones. Obviously, The Who is another one that comes to mind. Led Zeppelin's another one.
You're going even further back than I am. I mean, and I could go way back, but like, you know, all of those groups. Well, you know what? When vinyl was vinyl. Because that's what it was. And the art that went into the album liners, you know, like the
Yes.
liners and like this was a whole, it's such a lost art. But you know, when people can get into a full album, I think it really does make a difference. We could talk about that. We are close to getting our first congressional guest.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything.
No, we're not.
That's
naming
another
names.
thing that we're still waiting on because of
not naming names. But we're getting very close to getting our first actual congressional guest. Which
Jen, just so you know, guys, the one that Jen wants the most out of anybody in Congress is Ilhan Omar. That's the one. Well,
except for I do worry that I very well could have like another Cornel West moment with her, like where I'm just an idiot. I don't know. Like first of all, her book that I just read. I mean, it's an autobiography, you know. I mean, I hate to say that because she's still so young. Like, it's not like
actually, the picture does look a little fuzzy.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know what you want me to do about it.
I don't know if there's anything in terms of.
Maybe the camera just has something on it. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that bad, but
you're interrupting my Ilhan Omar. I'm fangirling over Ilhan Omar. So and I, you know what? If I continue to do so, and the clips of it get out.
The universal election.
Well, no, and the clips of it get out. One might happen to come across her phone one day, like she happens to click on something that says, you know, crazy single white psycho fangirling over Ilhan Omar, and she might want to go see who she needs to get a restraining order against.
Nice thing to talk about.
No, but seriously, maybe if enough of it goes out. But anyway, I have fangirl.
Yeah.
I digress. I have fangirl issues. Her story is amazing, and for people who don't really know what goes on, like. Really, she is one of the most effective people that there is in Congress.
I think we can talk about, you know what I think we should talk about?
What should we talk about?
We should talk about AOC and this whole idea behind, you know, voting present and, you know, making a real political stand on what it is that you believe. But you see, the problem is that she compounded it by writing a whole, and you know, I don't know
what happened after the fact because, you know, I don't follow.
Well, apparently one of the reasons why she voted president is because Pelosi confronted her on the floor and they caught part of it on camera. And you could clearly see Pelosi pointing a finger in her face and yelling at her and stuff.
I don't care.
And then AOC apparently started crying. And then,
there's no crying.
There's no crying in baseball, just like there's no crying in Congress.
But here's the thing. I am sorry. And I am one of the I very rarely.
We support Alex.
I do. And I don't really tolerate people talking nasty to her and all that stuff because it's just unnecessary. But I'm very disappointed by this. First of all, the idea that, what was it, a week ago, you're wearing a tax the rich dress, like, oh, you're so stirring it up. You're so controversial. You're so maverick speaking truth to power. But then you vote present? Take a stand. Take a stand and take the heat either direction. That's weak. It's weak. And I'm so, either way, take the stand, take the heat, whichever direction you need to take it from, or don't be in that job.
Yeah. And again,
I'm sorry, but it's like, this isn't, it's voting present is completely unacceptable to me. And especially by someone who wants to put out there, like they're, you know, really challenging the narrative.
I really do think that there's, if I can pinpoint one thing in regards to what I really do believe is the problem here, and I've been saying this for a while, and I say this for a lot of representatives on Capitol Hill, I think that Alex probably doesn't have the best team around her. She probably has individuals who are a little too close to the establishment, always want to play things a little too close to the chest. And somebody probably told her that you kind of have to straddle that line of not taking too many risks. As much as I hate to have to compare her to this particular individual, but this is a lot of the type of stuff that Kamala Harris does.
Well, here's the problem with this. Here's the problem with it. This is what I always say about Alex, and I say this in almost like in a maternal kind of way because I am old enough to be her mother. This is where maturity and experience in life comes into play. Your level of confidence and comfort with yourself and your own person and standing up, and also the not worrying about what your career looks like in a few years. And again, I'm not saying this like specifically mean toward Alex. I have not met her. I'm sure I would get along nicely with her. She seems like a nice enough person. Like I don't know, but I think a lot of this is a maturity and wisdom thing. And unfortunately, she's just really young in this way. But I find very little justification for not taking a stand one way or the other, whatever that is. And you know, that's something to me that just, it comes off very spineless. And also there's no crying.
Yeah.
There's no crying, not from that. Horrible, no. Let me say, if something personal happens or horrible tragedy happens or something happens that's really like devastating, yes, there's crying wherever you are. But there's no crying about this, about stand up for yourself. Like
it's not just that. It's the fact that, and again, John, look, there is no question that there's a lot of things that representative, you know, the hierarchy can do when they want to threaten you. There is a very wealthy, older, powerful Jewish community in the North Bronx known as Riverdale. And the idea is that, well, and I think Jamal Bowman represents it currently, and that's one of the reasons why he voted yes. And that somehow they're going to move the district lines so that a chunk of it is going to affect AOC's district. Listen, AOC wins her district by 50 points.
And if that happens, by the way, if that happens and that redistricting happens, and let's say she loses her congressional seat, that's the way it goes. Take the stand. Let the chips fall where they may, and then that's where it's meant to be. Then what you're saying is the choice is more self-preservation than taking a stand. That's not what we need.
And this is where, and Turkey Day, we are going to clarify what you're talking about now. Jen, this is something that you can definitely speak more to, because as many of you may or may not know, but the lead congressional representative in the House who was whipping votes for the $1 billion addition to the, you know, defense fund or whatever you want to call it for Israel is none other than our Congresswoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, which again, shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, but of course she likes to keep a low profile. So it wasn't exactly announced out there. We had to find it from a contact in DC that let us know that, yeah, it was actually Debbie who was going around there making sure everybody was doing.
We're not surprised.
No, why would you be? Because that's what she hangs her hat on. Anyone who is open for business the way that she is, anyone that is as Zionist as she is, of course, is going to do what she's going to do. Now, if you are, let's say, representing this district, which still houses one of the largest Jewish populations in the country, and you voted no on $1 billion additional funding to the Iron Dome, and let's say a constituent is upset with you, and then you ultimately say, this is why I voted no, what would you say? Like, why would you vote no?
Why would I vote no?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, this is presupposing a lot of things, but right now, I think we need to have a flat out across the board. We do not give money to nation states that are committing human rights violations and are in violation of international law. And I think that once we do that across the board, that would change a lot of things. But, you know, so for me, the idea of giving an additional $1 billion to a country that we so heavily already overfund to the point of like, it's grotesque and it's being used in manners that are just violation of all things that are right. So no, I would, but again, I wouldn't be playing into that narrative all along anyway. I don't support the narrative. And to me, the idea that you're going to have to spend, maybe we need to stop and think if you really believe that Israel really needs this much money for protection, okay, maybe we need to stop and think as to why that is. Why, for the same reason I thought like why Debbie would assume somebody was trying to assassinate her is something we should think about. If people are so wanting to come against you, maybe we need to take a really good look at why that is. Maybe it's because you're violating human rights. Maybe it's because you're in violation of international law. Maybe it's a lot of things, you know, and I think those are the issues that need to be addressed. So that's just me.
And when you think about how easily they can earmark $1 billion for Israel,
oh, it's like nothing.
Let's say that a lot of you observe what's going on at the southern border right now and recognize the problems that we have with our immigration policies. And I am not for open borders under any circumstances.
I could go either way.
But think about this. Think of what $1 billion would do for Haiti if they actually had it, and how easily our Congress could pass earmark $1 billion in financial aid to Haiti. It would completely change the island.
I'll one better you. What if we sent it to Flint?
There you go. Do you see how easily we can fix our problems?
Right. But
it's not hard.
No, how are you going to pay for it? Does it ever seem to come up with these issues? But yeah, it's frustrating. And it disappoints me about Alex. Jamal has to do what Jamal has to do. But the reality is, in his case, he very well might be properly representing his constituents.
He might.
So if the majority of your constituents would want that, then that is the way you should vote.
And let's be honest.
Okay, so
even if pressure got brought on you from all sides and said you can't, but like Ted Deutsch, if you were the representative here and Ted Deutsch calls you and is like, no, you have to do this, Jen, we have to have the Iron Dome, blah 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 blah. Okay, and again, at the end of the day, it's a symbolic vote. It passed 420 to 9, so it's not like one vote is going to make the difference. The reason why with Alex it's such a big deal is because she intended to vote no, and then somebody, we know who it was, Mama Bear, got a hold of her
and made her cry
and probably said, "You're never going to be a senator. You're never going to run for president." Blah 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 blah.
That sounds like Trump.
I know it sounds like Trump, but they
all right. Stop.
Very similar.
And
so she makes the threat.
But if you can't handle that, you shouldn't be in that job.
That's my point. And this is
that's why you're there.
And it's not like the squad isn't tough. They are. But when I hear people talk about AOC and the trials and tribulations she has to go through, she can't wash the jock of what Ilhan Omar goes through.
Well, and this is the thing. I would like to say that note how this would never have happened to Ilhan Omar.
No, because
I assure you, Nancy Pelosi getting in her face would never make her cry. It just wouldn't happen.
No. And again, we have observed Alex's behavior, and there's no question that she's way too caught up in the celebrity component of her position. She's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's in New York City, and she has done great things. We always say it's not about what she's done on Capitol Hill, it's what she's done in New York City.
Well, and just to change the narrative in general.
Absolutely.
I do think that I look, again, I have no beef with Alex.
Anyone who thinks that she's a net negative doesn't know anything about politics.
No, she's absolutely in that pot. But I think you can criticize where criticism is due.
Absolutely.
And not taking a stand.
But we have this
so weak.
As we say, this is one of the biggest problems we have, and this is one of the issues that we had with previous guests. Nihilism, if that's your boat and that's where you want to be, that's fine. But we support an inside-outside strategy. You have to have non-corporate representation on the inside that is willing to fight for the issues that you're fighting for. And you have to have a robust outside movement. So, for example, there's a lot of people who like to get on Cori Bush in that she didn't do enough with the eviction moratorium. Well, if 1 million people are getting thrown out of their homes, don't you think 1 million people would be wise to get in the street and demand something? At what point does the dam break?
Right. This is where the outside needs to be facilitating it for the inside. Like, this is how it has to work together.
It has to. You can't. And again, this idea that you're going to cancel people. And look, I am not on the side of when AOC says this is violence and, you can't criticize me. No, you have to be nuanced. You have to look at circumstance and say, okay, you're right here, you're wrong there. There is no question that as we said, is the message of, let's say, wearing a dress that says tax the rich a good thing? Yes, but what are you doing about it?
Well, I don't know whether it's good or bad. It's just attention seeking. That's one of those things that I don't know actually accomplishes anything other than just getting people to talk about you, which is, again, part of the celebrity thing and liking that whole scene.
Robin, I do think that is a fair point. I can tell you this just from people that I know on Capitol Hill. There is no question that Alex deals with a lot. There is no question that she does. But the one thing I will say is that she loves it when things are going well. She hates it when things are going bad. You have to take the good with the bad.
But I don't care what. Okay, so now we're like splitting hairs, whether or not it's that Pelosi yelling at her made her cry, or the fact that she didn't have the spine to stand up to her that made her cry. Either way, you know what? If you're taking a position that makes you cry, you're taking the wrong position.
Yeah, and again, the whole crying thing. And listen, the crying thing, we hear enough. And I'm only saying this from a man's perspective. And again, I understand you could say it's chauvinistic and all this, but women crying in those circumstances is not strong. And people want strength. That's why they turn to certain leaders.
Right. This isn't a situation that required crying.
If Alex thinks she's going to the U.S. Senate in 24, if she thinks that she is going to run for president in 28, this ain't going to work. No. Because people are not going to get excited about that. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, but
this is not right.
This ain't it. No, this is way too much.
This is where you didn't take a stand.
And not only that, but she writes oh my God. And I don't even know if she wrote it. I mean, there's no way to know for sure, but there was this lengthy description written out about why she voted no or voted present. Yes. And it was just a word salad. She didn't say anything.
She's gotten in the clutches of the wrong people.
And again, anybody who has volunteered for Alex and has supported her campaign in the past, remember, and I still think this is one of the biggest reasons why she stands where she stands today. She does not have the same team around her that she had when she came up. Yeah. And we know this from somebody who we will not name, who was part of her inner circle and is not part of it anymore. What the reasons are, we won't discuss.
Well, it's the same thing as what happened with Andrew Gillum.
100%.
It's what people do. They get a little taste of establishment and then invite it in, and then it goes, and then that's it. Then you lose everything.
As Bobby likes to say, a little taste, a little taste, get a little taste. And it's true. When they get a little taste of what that life is like, it's very hard to turn it down. I always say Andrew Gillum ran one of the best primary campaigns I've ever seen. I mean, he was absolutely spectacular. What he did and how he was able to combat the establishment. And let's face it, it's not just that Gwen Graham was the establishment choice, but Jen would even say the best elected Democrat Florida has probably ever had is her father, Bob Graham. Yeah. And so when you add that element in, and
we love Bob Graham,
and the fact that he is a black man, we're not going to get into the minutia about it, but a black man from the hood who was able to rise up and become a success and win the primary and was likely going to win if he stuck to his guns, especially on Medicare expansion, Medicare for all. And he tiptoed away from it. Yep. And he allowed the BS crap that DeSantis and his side were throwing. And the whole thing got thrown for a loop. But let's remember, one of the things that changed significantly after he won the primary, he took $1 million from Donald Sussman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's biggest benefactor. He took $1 million from Tom, who's the guy who ran for president again? Tom
Vilsack?
Tom Steyer. Tom Steyer. Took $1 million from Tom Steyer. And he took $1 million from George Soros. And once you start taking that money, it changes everything. And how do we know? Because he changed his entire team.
And how do we really know? Because he lost.
Changed his team. So when you change the team and you start changing your message and you start pivoting, as they like to say in politics, that's not what got you there in the first place.
No, and when you start showing up to things with people like Michael Bloomberg, Hillary Clinton, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
But the kicker,
that's it.
And I still say, and this is just, when you talk about the net negatives of politics, I still say that Gillum sealed his fate when he showed up at the temple at Century Village in Pembroke Pines with a yarmulke on his head, elbow to elbow with Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Michael Bloomberg. And when you do that,
not a good look.
That's it. It's over.
Not a good look. It's like basically that's akin to the kente cloth tails. It's like the lowest, it's complete pandering. Like, it's just so, it's ugly. It's not a good look.
No, it really is. And this all gets back to AOC and the moves that she's been making. And I think we can all agree that we want her to be great. We want her to do amazing things.
Again, I have no beef with Alex. No. I'm sure, I generally always, in fact, I always say, you don't know what's going on.
No.
So you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. This beef is about voting present.
Right.
I understand you're ruffling feathers either direction, but that's the job you're in, is ruffling feathers. That's the point.
And if you think that straddling the line when you're already a controversial figure to begin with, it's not going to work, because you're going to piss off too many people in the progressive movement that are not going to fight for you. This is the thing about Nina Turner. You know, we really thought she got the short end of the stick because everyone wanted to pile on her when they realized that somebody like Nina had done so many things already that somebody like Alex would never do. How about being the keynote speaker for the People's Party convention? You know, the fact that people forget so quickly that she put herself out. Could you imagine how much heat she took for doing that? And how much people were like, you're never going to get elected. You're never going to blah, blah, blah. And Nina's like, don't give a damn what you think. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. That's, to me, that's everything.
And it also has to do with, are you representing what people want? When you're taking the stand that is what most people want, that's righteous. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, like, it's not just about what your opinion is. It's not like she just thinks what she thinks. This is what most people want. This is what's in, favor of the collective.
There is no question. And again, part of the, and again, it always works out. So just so you guys know, one of the reasons we're also having this discussion today is because we're not really going to have much of an opportunity to discuss much tomorrow.
And because we got stood up by Andy and Alex.
It's what it is. But tomorrow night, we are having a candidate forum, which we hope you guys will tune in for. So, and of course, it's not a surprise that the establishment is trying very, very hard to keep this particular election under wraps, because a non-corporate candidate might actually have a chance to win.
There are two of them in the race.
You've got one who's an elected House representative and one who has run for Congress twice already and has built quite a name recognition and has a financial war chest to back it. And so tomorrow night, we are going to be speaking with for all intents and purposes, the top four candidates running for this congressional seat in Florida's 20th district, the one that borders the 23rd district.
Right. So in its most gerrymandered fashion. But yes, this is the seat that was Alcee Hastings, who died. And so now we're having the special election. So yeah, we have the top four candidates coming on tomorrow. Sheila's going to have to be about 15 minutes late, which I said was no problem. We'll get what we can get. But we were notified.
Yes.
Anyway, so
we'll have our introductions. And by the time that she comes up, she'll be there and ready to give her introduction.
Yeah, it's fine. We can. And the truth is, it's like Sheila's all good.
So here's how it is, guys. Sheila Scherflewis McCormick. She is
Scherflewis. Sheila Scherflewis McCormick.
So she's on she is the independent, if you will, candidate, because she's not an elected representative. However, she was part of the Fab Four.
Well, don't say she is running. I mean, this is a Democratic primary. Yes. It's not run independent.
She is. And let's just say, if she were the representative of this district, I have no doubt she would do a great job. She ran against the late Alcee Hastings twice. The last time, which was the last election she ran, she got, I think, about 35% of the vote. So she did a pretty good job, all things considered. And now it's an open race. And if she basically gets her share of the voters to come out for her again, it's very likely she'll win.
I can also say about Sheila is she wouldn't let Nancy Pelosi push her around.
Probably not. And then you have Amari Hardy, who is a freshman representative up in Tallahassee.
And he's also a non-corporate candidate.
And
supports the policies that we support.
Very, very progressive. He had a sort of a come to Jesus moment over the past few years.
Good, which is good because he did support Hillary at one point.
But you know what? Sometimes you get into elected office like he did in the Lake Worth City Commission and then up in Tallahassee, and then you really get to see how things are. And you have two ways that you can go with it. You can go along to get along, or you can stand up for what you believe in. And he's standing up for what he believes in.
Which is good.
Yes.
So there are two decent candidates, but we will be talking tomorrow with them.
And then you have the two establishment candidates, which, respect to them, they are coming on and we will treat them respectfully. Number one, you have our former mayor and county commissioner of Broward County, Dale Holness. He has been an elected representative for, I believe, 12 years.
He's been
here for quite a while.
He's very, very well known and very popular in Broward, and is very, I mean, this is someone was the mayor of Broward. So,
and that carries a lot of weight. But ironically enough, he is not the establishment choice in this race. It turns out that the establishment choice is State Senator Perry Thurston. He not only has the support of multiple county commissioners, he also has the support of the Broward County AFL-CIO.
That's big.
That's big. And so it's going to be a very interesting debate, and we hope that you guys will join us. We'll be doing it from 7 p.m., a little early start tomorrow night.
7 to 9.
7 to 9. So we hope that you'll join us and bring your questions.
Yeah, we can. I mean, we're going to be dealing with like the topics in general are housing, healthcare, education, police reform, climate justice. Like those were kind of the 5 kind of topics I'm going to be working around, but we have some other questions as well. So
Turkey, I don't agree. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's only one part of the equation.
Right.
It's not like we're just looking for saviors like so many people do. It's kind of like the Trump rally the other day, and everyone's looking at Trump as the savior. That's not the answer. The answer is you need non-corporate representation on Capitol Hill, just as you need a robust movement on the outside. And we have said repeatedly that the robust movement on the outside has to constitute a non-corporate, nonpartisan labor movement. That is how it's going to get done.
You need to take all the groups that are like wanting things like all sorts of justice need to join together with labor in one big group.
Yep.
That's how this is going to have to happen.
Now,
we're just trying to like build those connections.
Now, this unfortunately is an abbreviated podcast for moi,
because Peter has to go, and I don't like to do it by myself. I just don't.
But if you want to interact
I could get
with
like in the zone. But if you guys want
to interact with the chat for a little bit before we go,
I mean, there's only 15 people watching. I mean, if anybody has any really
but we're very
questions.
Listen. You know what? We've had about 20 people consistently on YouTube watching, and that's great. And like I said, we don't normally do Sundays.
No.
We're considering experimenting with the idea.
I would do Sundays, but we should have like a bagel brunch situation. I feel like right now I'd be really happy with a little bit of Nova and bagel.
Nothing guaranteed yet, but some things may be changing in the next couple of months. So we'll keep you posted on that. Studio situation may be more interesting.
The studio situation is going to be very interesting.
So we'll let you know how that might ultimately unfold. But I do have to go and meet my father and grandfather for New York Giants lunch football.
Oh, for God's sake.
Haven't done that in a while, but it'll be fun. And I know how much you care about football.
I used to like football, but I don't have,
the Dolphins are doing...
It isn't how they do. It's about knowing even who's on the team, who's the coach. Like they've been so transient for so many years now that I feel like I've lost a lot of like connection to it. Isn't that I don't still like them. I do, but it's just a whole different thing.
Well, on that note, goodbye, stranger. Thanks for coming.
Mock me all you want.
Bye, guys.
We're in Davie. I'm in Davie, Florida, which is, I guess, how far? Like 10 miles west of the Fort Lauderdale airport, basically. And then I'm moving. I sold my house, which is where we have this studio, it's in my craft room. This is my craft room. Actually, most of this stuff is inventory from my crafting business. And this just got sold. So I'm going to have to box it up and ship it out. And so I'm going to have to figure out, I just got to fill the holes. But I sold my house and we're still not sure where we're going to land. It's my husband and me, and I have 2 sons, but one's in college. So he doesn't have a whole horse in this race. And we're not sure exactly where we're going to land, but I'm not too far from my little's high school. So I'm not going too far. But anyway, the one house that we made an offer on that we're waiting to see what happens right now has this really cool setup where it has a garage that's attached to the house, but then it also has this like third independent garage that we would make into a studio, which would be kind of cool. So that was I was one of the selling points of this house that I kind of liked. But my husband and I, downsizing. Now that I've got one in college, one in high school, and my husband is sick of maintenance. So we want much less space. I'm in Davie, and so there's a lot of property around us. And so we need a lot less property. And so that's what's happening. And plus it was a really good market to sell the house. So that's what we did. Isn't North Part the only existing it will be. You guys like the stuff on the wall? This is, if you're interested, I actually have an Etsy store called Wicked Gypsy Designs. And most of this stuff is probably listed on there. I haven't been as updated with it, but yeah, if you like the stuff, you're refurbishing birdhouses. Oh my God. I have the cutest birdhouse hanging inside my house on the wall, because it's just such a beautiful piece of art. I got it. It's like a handmade. It's just so pretty. I love birdhouses, but we don't have those kinds of birds down here, unfortunately. Like, so in Florida, you don't really put out birdhouses because most of our birds are really big. They're not songbirds. We have like more down here, water birds and birds of prey, and just they're not, I get vultures and ibises. They're not going in a birdhouse. So it's just different. I'm like the Dr. Frankenstein of vintage pieces. I'll find, like, I have suitcases that I've taken out the top, put upholstered, and made ottomans out of. So like just a bunch of random things. This up here, this is I call that Victor Victoria. These are old like printers trays and stuff that I turn into jewelry, printers drawers that I turn into jewelry displays. So yeah, that was my business. But anyway, that's why I even have this whole background, because I used to do art shows, and so I have all this stuff for the stuff to hang on. But we are gonna be hopefully getting a new cool studio that might even have better sound, better lighting, because this is a craft room. So we'll hopefully be improving. That's really cool. Yeah, that's how I like it. Like my birdhouse that's hanging on the wall there. I mean, yeah, it could be I'm sure people that live in places would have it as a real birdhouse, but it's too cute to put outside. Like, I wouldn't want it to get weathered, and the weather in Florida really is hard on everything. So anyway, guys, if you are interested, please subscribe. We do have, this is not our normal thing. We normally have like a full program and talk to people, but and tomorrow night's our panel. So check it out. And thanks for jumping on. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm sorry. Like I've been stood up by hotter people. I will say that. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to get it together with them at some point. I think this was just not as well handled as Peter seems to think that he handled it. I don't think he handled it that well. Like, I think that we weren't even sure how we were going to stream with them until like the last minute. And so I'm not in a huff about it like Peter is. Peter gets all Peter about things. Did I read the Yahoo News article? No, I didn't. I'm going to have to check it out. See, John, you're coming around. You're not going to be a hater. You're not going to be a hater. I'm just this like, middle-aged person sitting in my house, just trying to create connections for people and just trying to help as best I can. That's it. I have no hidden agenda. There's nothing going on. And the fact that there's so many people that want to hate on me is so entertaining. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't understand it. First of all, I'm not that powerful. It's like, if you're going to really have a beef with someone, you should take it up with someone who's in some sort of position of power. But the people that hate on me, they really don't know anything about me. They know like a couple of sound bites taken completely out of context where they don't understand, or they don't know the backstory. And people like to just get on hate trains, I guess. It's bizarre. But yeah, I'm not racist. I'm just really not. You might want to pretend that and try to find little things to make that be so and work backwards from that conclusion. But I'm just not. I don't know what to tell you about that. I'm not always the most politically correct. I'm certainly not always correct. I'm certainly not always aware of everybody's feelings around me. I'm just a person. But yeah, I do not find my race to be superior to that of anything, to be honest with you. It's just not a thing. So anyway, guys, I appreciate it. Keep on trucking. Yeah. No, it's really interesting. People really like like tribalism, and teams is a very important thing. And one of the things that facilitates is you have to have kind of a common enemy, and you have to kind of hate on people. And I've gotten it here locally to some extent, for sure. There have been situations locally where they've tried to paint me as something that I'm not. Find little things that they can blow up into a big thing to make me seem a certain way. And what's so unfortunate, and this, I think, has a lot to do with just the amount of time we're on social media and how much of it is portrayed in sound bites. But there's no nuance or context anymore. It's completely like everything is all or nothing. Everything is black and white. Everything is, and people don't want to understand and don't want to have discussions and don't want to get along. I know that for a fact. What happened to me here locally a couple of years ago with a group of people, and they didn't want to have a discussion or really get to know me or figure it out. They just wanted to say what they wanted to say and create a trail of a story that they could sort of link back as the justification for why they don't like me. And that works. It's also kind of like the telephone game. You know, when you went, well, okay, I'm talking to people that are probably way young. You probably don't know what the telephone game is. Like you would sit in a big circle, right? And you whisper something in someone's ear, and the story and what the story ends up at the end is completely different than how the story started. And that's just one of the things that you see a lot of in this thing. And people are very content to just pick a side and hate. So, yeah, that is also one of the reasons I'm not on social media anymore, is I just really, I don't need that. I don't need it. And I also think that it doesn't really have any impact other than just to create toxicity all around us that we're just living with. And it's unnecessary. I can't have that in my brain. I don't have the brain cells to dedicate towards that. So it's not some titled Kidnapping, Assassinations in London Shootings. Oh, cool. Yeah, the whole thing with Assange is also infuriating. And now we all have to be signing the Code Pink petition regarding Joe Biden pardoning Daniel Hale. Now I've got that. We have to be pursuing that as well. But the Julian Assange case is historically, this will be one of the darkest times in our nation's history regarding the First Amendment and journalism and how we treat whistleblowers. And this is really no different. This will be looked at the way we look at like McCarthyism and the Red Scare and how we treated people. And this will be no different than that. And what's happening to Julian Assange is it's beyond criminal. It's criminal against him, but it's criminal against all of us. And I don't think people really understand the gravity of the situation about Julian Assange, what this means for all of us, what this means for whistleblowers, that it's like the complete death of the fourth estate. And yeah, we've sort of seen it over time, and we see it when we put on something like CNN, that's not the fourth estate. That's not journalism. That's not, watchdogs of government. They're not keeping track of what's going on for us. They are the lapdogs of government. Like it's gone. Like we see that on a regular basis. But the fact that we're able to criminally prosecute somebody for speaking the truth, for printing truth, is probably the scariest thing I can think of regarding the First Amendment that's happening. And so when people aren't taking the Julian Assange thing seriously enough, I don't think they're really making the connection as to what that means. You will no longer be able to print truth without fear of prosecution. That's fascist. Actually, like that's where you've got complete corporate takeover of the government to the point where you're not allowed to speak truth. That's fascism. It's very, very scary. I don't think people really understand. And, we're very fragile. I think people think that we're so stable. We're a very young country, and we've seen a lot of instability in our little young country. And we're reaching a point where we're really going into a very scary fascist oligarchy kind of situation. And as much as people would like to pin it all on one person like Donald Trump, and who is gross, by the way. I mean, I'm not a fan, but this is happening almost regardless of who's sitting in the White House. I mean, that's even, scarier, because if you look at it, I mean, Obama was no different than Trump regarding what we're talking about with whistleblowers and stuff like that. Like when we're talking about really impeding the First Amendment, this has been going on throughout both parties' administrations. Like this is not something that you could put either direction. And that's what should be so scary, is that it's happening regardless of who's sitting there. So we just need to keep plugging away at it. And we need to be very, very vigilant. And we can't drop the ball on that. I mean, Yeah, I can't stress that enough. So guys, thanks for tuning in. I have to go eat something. I'm not used to being up and even having any makeup on a Sunday. So it's kind of weird. And guys, check out tomorrow. Check out our panel. For those of you who weren't on before, we're having a congressional candidate panel for Florida's 20th district tomorrow night from 7 to 9. We have 4, actually the top 4 contenders really we have coming on. And it's not a debate. It's going to be a discussion. It's a panel. And we're going to be discussing a lot of things. And we will be taking questions. So, and this is an important seat, guys. This is somebody replacing, filling in where Alcee Hastings was. And as much as I could say stuff that I didn't love about Alcee, he was an ardent supporter of Medicare for all. So, you know, that's an important factor in that. I don't want to lose that seat. That seat's a blue seat. So it's not going anywhere far, but it could go far enough. Not all Democrats are the same. So check out tomorrow and see what we're all going to be talking about. And thank you, John. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Cool. Peace out.